ازاي تحصل على فيزا عمل لامريكا من وانت لسه في بلدك؟ ده سؤال كان دايما بيجيلنا، والنهارده نتكلم عنه ونشرح بالتفصيل ازاي تقدم على نوع الفيزا دي، وبالاخص في مهنة التدريس. اللي هتشوفوه دلوقتي دي مقابلة ما بيني وما بين زميلة ليا كنت بشتغل معاها في تايلاند، وقعدت فترة طويلة تدرس في أمريكا من خلال فيزا العمل دي. تعالوا يلا نتكلم معاها ونعرف التفاصيل دي. Okay, could you please introduce yourself?
My name is and I'm from the Philippines. I'm a teacher. I have a teaching experience in the Philippines, in Thailand, and also in the United States
So how long did you teach in the United States?
for like 2.5 years.
How were you able to find a job in the United States?
I went there under the international exchange program. It's called the J1 Teachers Program.
J1 Teachers Program. Okay.
Yeah. In order for you to teach in the United States
Mhm.
for as long as 5 years,
Mhm.
the easiest way for you to get to the United States is join the international exchange program, which is under J1. Prior to coming to the United States, I already have a lot of friends who went there. And I was like, I never had the interest of coming to the United States because of what I've heard about the behaviors and everything. But then I realized that a lot of them are going. And then I was like, how am I supposed to know if I don't try?
Yes.
So I was like, yeah, I want to give it a try. I want to know how it feels to be there. And so a friend of mine was already in the United States, and she helped me like with the whole process. But in order to be there, you're gonna need a visa sponsor.
Okay, let's start by talking about what is G1 Teachers Program. What is it exactly? What do they
So
do?
J1 exchange program is an international exchange program.
Okay.
So you will be in the United States. You can teach, share your culture
Mhm.
to the locals, to your students. And then it is a maximum of 5 years.
Mhm.
After 5 years, you have to go back to your home country and then share whatever you have learned. And you are not allowed to go back to the United States for 2 years unless you're done with your residency.
Are we talking about Philippines or this program, whenever it comes to 5 years work in the United States, you have to go back to your country? That's for any nationality.
I am not sure about other countries, but I heard, yes, other countries do the same.
Mhm.
But then the difference is in another country, there's a chance that after your 5 years, you can stay in the United States. You just need to get a waiver from your country to
Mhm.
allow you to stay in the United States.
Okay.
So when your J1 program ends, what you can do is contact your country
Mhm.
and then ask for a waiver, and then look for a school or a school district that can sponsor you a work visa, which is H1B.
Okay.
So you don't have to leave the United States if you get that waiver. But that is a different situation in my country because my country will not allow it.
Mhm.
So
You have to leave.
for people like me from the Philippines, after my program has ended, I have to go back to the Philippines because I can't get a waiver, but there will be exemptions. If I was married to an American citizen, I can prove to the government here in the Philippines that my husband, like, let's say he's sick and he cannot live in the Philippines, like he's
Right.
under medication or anything. Or if I have like an American citizen child and I believe that the child will have a difficult life if I bring him or her to the Philippines, then I might get a chance to get a waiver.
So let me rephrase what you said, that the J1 Teachers Program or exchange program, like during the 5 years you work in the United States, you are under something called J1, right? This is
Yeah,
the type of visa that you're under. And your title
correct.
is an international teacher. So once
And
you are, go on.
now, what I was trying to say is you're gonna get the same privileges as everyone.
Mm.
Same pay grade as the locals, everything is the same.
And then later on, if you were able to waive that or you had a direct contract with the school, you would be able to change the type of visa to B1 visa, to H1 visa.
H1B, yeah, that is correct.
What about the salary range? It's different from one school to another, right?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, it depends on where you are at. Like if you are in New York, you could be getting paid more. So teachers in California, they're getting paid more, but the cost of living is also very high. Your salary in the United States will depend on two things: your educational background
Uh-huh.
and your years of experience. So
Okay.
that's what schools mostly consider. So if you taught for 10 years in your home country, as long as you have all the documents to prove that you have that 10-year experience, and then you also have a master's degree, and I only have 5 years of teaching experience, and I don't have a master's degree, you'll get paid more.
So let's say like once you're a new teacher, maybe you have only like 2-3 years
2
experience,
years.
and
Yeah.
you were in which state in the United States?
Ohio.
Ohio. So you were in Ohio. So what are the salaries range? Like, would you say a teacher starts from, for example, 2000 to,
Yeah. Yeah, I work in a charter school. So charter schools, based on what I heard, I'm not sure about this information, but based on what I heard, charter schools pay less than public schools.
Okay.
So I work in a charter school, and probably the basic pay is around like 40K a year
Per
for
year.
those with minimum years of experience, and also with your bachelor's degree. So
Okay.
what you can do to find out how much teachers get paid, because as I mentioned to you, it depends on the school district, it depends on the state. What you can do is type and find a certain district. For example, you live in Texas. What's your school district?
Allen ISD.
Yep. Search Allen ISD pay schedule, or salary schedule, and every information that you needed is in there.
Okay, let's talk about the process you followed and what is required for you to be able to apply for the J1 teaching program.
Yeah. So being on that process, it's tedious and long, and
Okay.
it's costly. It depends on your visa sponsor, okay? But the initial requirement is for the teacher to have at least 2 years of teaching experience.
Okay.
But for some visa sponsors, they would require 3 years. So at least 2 years of teaching experience, but you must be currently teaching while during your application.
Who is the visa sponsor?
There are a lot of visa sponsors. Let me give you names. We have
Okay.
Teachers Council. You search it, Teachers Council. They can support you visa. API, TPG. I can give you a list next time, and then you can just share it. So my visa sponsor was Teachers Council. Yeah. So upon application, I must have at least 2 years of teaching experience. I must be currently teaching. And then you will be interviewed by the visa sponsor first. And then if you pass the initial screening, you will be moving on to the next part of the process, which is having your credentials evaluated. So your degree, your transcript in your country, you have to find another company to evaluate it, making sure that it is valid in the United States. So once you have your credentials evaluated, your visa sponsor will ask you if you want to be in a placement program. If you are in a placement program, you have to pay them more. So I pay them $500 more. So they will look for schools for me. So you have the option. You can pay them, and then they will look for schools for you, or you can find your own school. Okay, so $500 for a placement program, which means they'll find schools for you. Okay, so let's say you have an interview for a school district in Texas, but you were not hired. That's fine. They'll find you another school. You don't get hired again, they will find you another school until you get a job offer. Now, once you get a job offer, you receive your job offer, you sign your contract, you have to pay them again a school match fee, which I paid $2,500 way back 2020 or 2021. That was like a few years ago. So I don't know about the exact prices right now, but that's what I paid at the time. Yeah, some visa sponsors can be more expensive, but some visa sponsors can be very, very cheap, but the requirement is a lot.
So it's different. Like you need to go through all of them and see what is convenient.
Correct.
Okay. Their job ends at this point. Like once you found a school, you pay them $2,500 plus the $500 extra that you paid for looking for school, and that's it.
Yep.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Once you got your job offer, your visa sponsor will contact your host school. So the communication will be between the two of them, because your host school will need to provide a lot of documents so your visa sponsor can start processing your visa. After that one, your visa sponsor will give you steps on what you should do next, because there are a lot of documents that you have to provide. That you have to take to the embassy. And then you are also required to pay for the J1 visa sponsorship fee, which was like around $1,200 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, around $1,200. That's the visa sponsored fee, visa sponsorship fee. And then your insurance, your yearly insurance, which is like around $700 at the time. So basically it was like an additional $2,000 for your visa sponsorship fee, and also your insurance. your visa sponsorship fee is going to be a yearly thing. So you have to pay for it every year. So the visa sponsorship fee is different from the visa that you get from the embassy, okay? Your US visa, that's a different thing. So your US visa, you have to pay it in the embassy, US embassy, and it's a different thing.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the total that you pay for the visa sponsor company is around 4,900 or $5,000, and there is
Yeah.
going to be like 1,200 or $1,200 that you pay every year for renewing the visa.
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct. Also the insurance. But I was very lucky because my whole school paid for everything. They paid for the visa sponsorship fee and also the insurance every year.
Okay.
So that's also a thing. Some school districts will pay your visa sponsorship fee and your insurance yearly, but some won't. So yeah, you need to be like careful with choosing schools. There's a huge shortage of teachers in the United States. So if you think you're qualified, start looking for schools. But I suggest starting for the next school year, like 2025, 2026, because by this time it would be very late to start looking for schools because the process is very long. It might take a while for you to finish the whole process.
دي كانت خطوات التقديم، بس لازم برضو نكون عارفين ايه الفرق ما بين التدريس في امريكا واي بلد تاني. هي دلوقتي هتحكي لنا من وجهة نظرها عن الفرق ما بين التدريس في امريكا والبلاد التانية اللي هي اشتغلت فيها. What do you think is the big difference between teaching in the United States and any other country?
Probably, from my point of view, it would be the culture because I'm Asian. You know, America is a very different place. When I was in Thailand and the Philippines share some of the same culture. You know, it won't be difficult to transition from the Philippines to Thailand because the food is almost the same, the people. But in the United States, it's completely different. Food is different, the weather, also the personality of the students. Based on what I've experienced, I mean, like the Asian kids are like way easier to manage, but the American kids are like so different. Yeah, but the whole teaching experience is actually really good because like I learned a lot. Okay, so these kids, it might be very difficult to deal with them, especially for someone like me from Asia, but the longer you teach, the more you learn. It gets easier every year.
What is the difference between your duties as a teacher in any other country and in the United States? Is it more? Is it less?
So when I was in the Philippines, it was more,
Okay.
compared to the United States. So because in the Philippines, there were a lot of paperwork. You know, I teach my students and then I am also required to do a lot of extra tasks. I need to spend my personal time doing tons of reports, meeting deadlines and everything. And I had like almost 50 students in one classroom, and that's really a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then Thailand was like the easiest, I would say. You know that as well, probably,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But then in America, I have less students. As far as I remember, I never had like more than 25 students. It's like 25 below. Yeah. And this is speaking from experience, okay? The amount of work that you do depends on what school you're in. But my school does not require that much. I was required to do the basic things like lesson plan, data tracking, things like that, communicating with parents, and then that's it. And then the rest of my time, I have to use it to prepare for my lessons. As I mentioned earlier, I have less students.
Yes.
Yeah, the first time I taught there, I only had like 19, but it was COVID, so I get that.
What about the paperwork, like your tasks? So you have to prepare and send the lesson plans. You have to prepare and send homework, check the homework when it comes back. You send reports to the parents, right?
Yep. Yeah, the typical thing that teachers do, you know, like wherever you go, if you're a teacher, you're always required to make lesson plans, you know, create your tasks, and then track your students' progress, communicate with parents.
Yeah, but because, you know, one of the teachers in my school told me that here the education is getting more difficult every day because like today we have 20 students in the class, tomorrow we're going to have 25. And I was like, you didn't see, like I was teaching in China and there were like 50 students in the classroom.
Correct.
So they didn't see the worst, but I would say that there's a difference between the Asian kid and the American kid. If you have 50 American students in your classroom, it's going to be very difficult. Yeah.
That's true. But then again, it depends on where you are. Okay. Some schools, they have really good students. It depends on where you are in the United States, actually, I would say. But I've never been to another school, and as I mentioned, I'm speaking from experience.
Uh,
It's a little bit tough, but I was teaching like first grade, and
uh,
these kids are so sweet.
yeah.
So I would say that most of my students would just probably need more attention from an adult, you know? They needed someone that they can trust
Yes.
because I was teaching students from like low income
Yes.
households
I
most of
get
the
it.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the time, single parent households. So they needed someone to like probably they needed someone to take care of them, making sure that um, someone is showing them love and respect, things like that.
Let's talk about the difference in culture between other countries and the United States. So you're coming from an Asian background. You come here to the United States, you deal with international teachers, right? Most of them are going to
Yeah.
be American, living in America. So what do you think are the like big challenges for you as a foreigner coming to the United States, especially in the first year?
I think the idea that the students will talk back at you,
Uh,
you know, like I never experienced that one in Asia. So whenever I talk to my students, there's always respect, you know, regardless of the situation. In talking about in Asia, but in the United States, I experienced one time when I was teaching second grade. It was my first year when I told my student to do a worksheet, and he was like, he threw the worksheet away and he was like, "This is boring. I don't want to do it." And I
okay.
said, "Well, you are at school and you have to do it." And then he told me, "Make me," you
Uh-huh.
know?
Uh-huh.
Like it was like it was so challenging. And I was like, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know how to deal with this. And like when you talk to them, they would literally talk back because probably they were, you know, they were taught at home that you have to prove your point all the time, that you have a voice, that your feelings are valid, and then your voice needs to be heard all the time.
Yeah, because I saw an American teacher who was talking to a kid and he was yelling at her. He was
Yeah,
yelling at her, really angry, you
yeah,
know? I was like, I saw the teacher approaching the kid and was like waiting for a scene to happen. Like, okay, what's gonna happen? And then she was like,
yeah.
I'm not yelling at you. Why are you yelling at me? You know, I was like, and that's it.
Mm,
That's why you're going to do
yeah.
it. You know, I would say that one of the negative things of working in schools in America is that the teachers are not as protected as the students. Thank you very much, Miss I, for having this interview with us. We're so happy.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I wish you the best in teaching in Thailand. And I hope that next year we will see you in the United States.
Yeah, thank you so much.
اتمنى المعلومات اللي في الفيديو تكون مفيدة بالنسبة لكم. تنسوش تشتركوا في القناة وتفعلوا الجرس علشان تكونوا على علم بكل فيديو جديد ينزل. سلام.